Today's video is going to be about this rifle that I got. This is what a community rifle looks like. I did not pay for any of this. And if you don't know the story behind it, I'll talk about it real quick. And it's also going to be about this compound bow, right? I didn't pay for any of this either. And both of them have a super cool story. And you know, and then it like leads to God, not like it does lead to God. You know, and as much as I don't want to talk about certain things that have been happening since the summer, it ties along with this. One, if you don't know, I left the company that, you know, I was one of the founding members and grew it, the training company. And then, you know, I left because it was the right thing to do. But I was trying to help my community out and as much as I could, and sooner or later, you know, I realized, hey man, I don't have a job. I need to pay bills. My wife is a lunch lady, so she only gets paid when she's going to school, when my kids are in session, and now she's out of work too. So I started my own training company. I didn't leave the first company because I wanted to start my own training company, but I'm like, okay, well, snap out of it. You need to provide for your family. Yeah, your community is suffering right now because of the raids and you know, but you got to feed your family. So I started teaching, and people would ask me like, hey man, I want to train with you, or I just found out because of, you know, this clip that went viral that you were addressing the raids and stuff like that, and I didn't even know you like existed. I didn't even know people were, you know, people that look like me were in the special operations community. And I wanted to teach, but like I realized I didn't have anything because I had to turn everything in that obviously was not mine. So after it was all said and done, I realized I don't have anything to train. So I was doing train people with, or even train myself. So I started doing these little privates here and there, and it was awesome. You know, I was, you know, working hard to get out of this financial hole. Meanwhile, going through what I was so stressed out about my community, my family, that I didn't really address anything that was going internally, and things were getting great. I'm teaching people, and next thing you know, I have a private, and you know, we were gonna do shooting pistols and rifles, and then we were having a great time. And I have nothing against the guys, and I hope to see those guys again. And you know, one of them forgot his rifle, and I was like, you know what, man, everyone's having a good time. Use my rifle. And I've let so many people borrow my stuff for so many years. And this one particular time, you know, there was 300 blackout ammo and 5.56 223, and he reached for you know, to get more ammo, and he just happened to reach in the wrong container or something. I don't really know, but you know, there's the GoPro footage that he gave me, and next thing you know, the rifle blows up. You know, I was more concerned for him because I immediately I just blamed my rifle. I was like, oh shit, like I fucked up. I gave him a bad rifle or something, and then immediately I was like, no, it couldn't be my rifle. Like, and then I had seen and heard like, hey, if you put the wrong, you know, let's say shotgun shell and you know, a wrong shotgun, you know, like when I took my hunter safety course, it's like, oh, you know, the barrel's gonna blow out or whatever, or like, oh, you know, I've seen these things, but I've never seen it in person. I've just heard about it, you know, as a precaution. So I was like, what the hell? I was like, let me figure this out. First of all, is the dude okay? I made him like check himself because I couldn't believe that he wasn't hurt, because the magazine blew out. Every component of the lower that's not the main frame blew out, and when I flipped it over, the charge tried to, you know, pull the charging handle, and it didn't budge. And when I flipped and saw down the magazine well, I could see the inside of the bolt, and I was like, bro, I was like, you see this? Like, you're not supposed to see this. Like, that's the inside of the bolt. So like, are you okay? And I was like, damn, I just started teaching, and now I have this thing happen, and it fucking sucked. It really, really, really did suck. And I told him straight out. I was like, look, dude, to be honest, if my son were to let somebody borrow his Nintendo SD or whatever the thing is, and his friend accidentally broke it, I wouldn't say, hey, your friend needs to replace it. I would say, hey, AJ, you let somebody borrow it, and it's your fault. Maybe don't let things happen, man. So I told him that. Like, I told him, like, hey, man, to be honest, I'm the one who let you borrow it, so I think it kind of like falls on me. And he was like, well, that doesn't sit well with me. I want to help. We're gonna set this straight. And at the moment, I didn't really care about the rifle. I cared about him. It wasn't until afterwards where I was like, fuck, man, what am I gonna do? This is like, I gotta replace this. I gotta teach. So I was like, you know what, man? Look, I'm gonna take it to Chosen, armory, gun shop. They do everything, and I'm like, I'm gonna tell them what each individual thing costs and what it would be to replace. Right? No, nothing better, nothing worse, just the same. And what it all came out to be, it was like about $3,000. And I showed him the receipt, and he was like, bro, like, I don't have that. And again, I felt like it was my responsibility mostly because I'm the one who let him borrow it. But this is how, I earn money. So, so I'm like, fuck, okay. I was like, okay, I gotta figure something out. And at the same time, Rick Mills from Wild Jaeger Veteran Adventures, who's like this amazing nonprofit. There's a lot of nonprofits out there that say they do a lot of work, community work, but the reality, they don't. They take that money in, and I'm pretty sure we've seen enough examples of X nonprofit, the amount of each dollar, how much it goes to them versus how it goes to like the veteran. And Rick had been telling me, hey, come, I take veterans out to go hunting, and I really wanted to do the hunting trip because I always would hear like Cameron Haynes and other people on Joe Rogan's podcast talk about providing in that way, and I wanted to provide in that manner to my family because I always saw myself as a protector and a provider, but mostly financially, not like, hey, I can actually, I know how to fish, I know how to hunt. I've never provided in that way, so I was like, you know what, man, I will. But I was just so busy with the old training company, and then the ice raids thing happened, and he saw me fumbling around with so many things, and he's like, hey, man, I think you need to come out here. I think you really do need to come out here. And I was like, all right. So we set it up for October. Ice raids started in June. They're still going on today, and so I was like, fuck. I was like, well, I gotta do this hunting trip. I was like, I'll worry about it later. And I'm like, it's $3,000. I'm like, I don't have that. And for people who are curious, like, what was the whole sum? Like, first of all, I feel like a lot of people went after Chosen when I showed the receipt, and Chosen just gave me the California price for what it is for them to be selling it. Obviously, they didn't, put in like, hey, how much each part costs. They have to make their money. They have to make, they're not just gonna sell you everything at a cost because they have to. They're a business. But they've been helping me out for so much with so many things that they hooked me up with this, and then they were like, look, man, we'll work with you. We'll do this and that. And while I was on this hunting trip, I was kind of getting updates, but because of, and I'll go into the hunting trip into detail, because I was going so heavy into the hunting trip, I wasn't paying attention to much of what was going on back in the States. I'm back in the States, back in California. And, Chosen had guys, they reached out to me and they wanted to help, and it was great. We had, real deep conversations. So I knew, their heart was in the right place, and they reached out because they saw that I was in need of because I left the company and for those that don't know, I mean, everything went with it. You know, who I associated myself with for the last couple of years, to income, to you know, my purpose and stuff like that. So they're like, hey, this dude needs help, and let's help him out. And we talked about God, and at the time, I've been having this struggle with God for many years. I donated a kidney a while ago, and I felt like that whole situation was God, and it helped out. But even then, I was thankful for the surgery being perfect, my recovery being as great as it could have been, the community coming in to help me heal and take care of things, so I could just focus on healing, and then the recipient being, you know, perfect. So that was awesome. But I was still, you know, half my family's Catholic, half of my family's Christians, and I went to war, and people who are extremists, or they say they do it for religion. And then some things, you know, like, it's a joke, but sometimes some of the best jokes are like, there's like a little truth to it. So, you know, I would see in the comments on a particular post, and somebody would say, there's no hate like Christian love. And it's funny because that's so true. Some of the most fucked up people have these Christian verses or verbs or proverbs or whatever that phrase is in their bio, and they go to church, and they post things about church, and you know, so when I see stuff like that, it would keep me away from God, and it shouldn't have been that way, you know. But like, for example, during my kidney donation, before I donated the kidney, the people that told me not to do it were the people that were actually the most religious and would go to church, and they're like, don't do it, no. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, aren't you supposed to be compassionate and wanting to help and not think of yourself? And, you know, so I'm at the hunting I'm at the hunting trip, right? And when I came back, the guys from Chosen were like, bro, you have a new rifle coming your way, like brand new. And actually what I have here is actually way better than what I had, right? I have my 3-in-1 combo, CTF phonetics. You know, it's a flashlight, you know, laser, and then my obviously like night vision flashlight, whatever. So like, instead of having like 1, 2, or like 3 things or whatever on your rifle, like I had this super slick thing, this EOTech, if you look in the video, it would cracked. So it turns on. I got to turn it into EOTech, and maybe they can replace it. And if they do replace it, I'm just gonna give it away, because somebody gave me this, and this is like one of those night vision EOTechs, which is crazy because this is way better than what I had. And then obviously you got the magnifier, and the trigger is way better. Like this is a much better rifle than what I had, what I started with. And he said, he's like, dude, while you were gone, people reached out, and they were like, what does he need? Like, what does he have? And let's get it going. And you know, when you're not a complete piece of shit and you've been helping people for years, it turns out people want to, you know, help you when you're in need. So it felt good, you know, and when Hector gave it to me not that long ago, a couple of days ago, I this wave of happiness came on, and you know, one of the guys who gave so much money in the night vision freaking EOTech, I went to go reach out to him, you know, and because I wanted to meet him in person and thank him, and you know, Craig was super nice, and you know, I could not, how the community came for this, like, it was wild, and even then I got like dozens and dozens of messages of like, bro, I got this extra barrel or lower, or like, I must have had minimum of 20 dudes send me pictures of their rifle and be like, hey bro, like, you want to do the paperwork, I got this extra thing. Maybe it's not as good as what you had, or maybe whatever, but like, this is yours. And it was awesome, man. Because if you understand what's been happening the last couple of months, man, you would see of how that was such a positive and dope thing. And and it was after the hunting trip. And the hunting trip, Rick is nonprofit paid for everything. They paid for the flight, board, food, gear. They gave me a compound bow. I mean, they paid. I didn't pay for anything. And what I didn't know is that we would be praying before every meal, before every hunt, and being out there. I'd heard podcasts, but there's something to it. There is. It's something that I can't describe. Maybe somebody on a podcast has done an amazing job, but to be out there, in New York, and I just think New York was like just city. Turns out like, when you go up by Syracuse and stuff like that, it's he called it a redneck New York or something like that. But anyways, it's awesome up there. And being out there with nature and with no distractions and this new thing that I'm trying to do and achieve, and it was such an amazing experience, and it solidified something with God, that I was like, you know what, man, the problem that I've had wasn't necessarily God. It was, for so many years, it was the human aspect of it. It was never about believing in God like that, because I have survived so many things that I try to not dwell on it, but like, I don't understand how I didn't die or go to jail in my teens, how I survived Iraq and Afghanistan, how even your transition, because I haven't been in those positions, but like, my friends have killed themselves. So like, even when you get out, you still have to survive that. And I had a tough time, but during my transition, but like it went almost fast. Like, and some guys are, unfortunately, are after year after year after year, are still lost, and it fucking sucks, right? And I'm still married, and I see my kids, and I donated a kidney, and everything went well, and I don't understand how I can be so blessed. And so I always felt like it was something. I used to say it's dumb luck, or the universe, or maybe it's God. And people would be like, bro, it's God. And I would be like, okay, well, like, which religion, what church, whatever. But this trip was like, you know what, man? Well, it was such a beautiful trip, religious wise, because like, we didn't go to a church. We didn't, we didn't pray to a certain like statue or picture or whatever. It was just, we would just hold hands and be grateful for what was happening and what we were gonna do, and that is exactly what I needed. So when I came home, I told my wife, I was like, my wife's name's Annalie. I'm telling Annalie, I was like, you know what? I told her as much as I could, and then I told her, you know what? Like, I want to start praying before some meals and be thankful, and it was funny because she was, I guess, feeling that way too. Like, hey, let's move a little closer towards God. And so now I've been talking more to my kids about God, and there's no denying it. Before, in the past, maybe there was these struggles of like, no, whatever, but like, now it's there's no denying. It's not that I want to deny it at all, but it's just, there's just no denying. It's God. Then each individual has to make that decision, I guess, of like what that God is called, or what the story of that one is. But I think we're all trying to reach the same point, and so the compound bow is cool, the rifle is cool, but the relief of finding an answer to this problem that I've been having for so long, man, it felt great. It felt, like I was more fulfilled, and more clear of what I need to do. It didn't obviously put millions into my account and you know, all my issues just go away, but it helps so much that, you know what, that stuff doesn't matter. And with a clear picture, I think I know I can move forward to do the right things for my family, myself, and my community. Because around June, when the ice raids started happening around literally where I live, around my boxing gym, around my kid's school, around my house, and I mean, I'm seeing family and friends, you know, struggle, and some people who've even been to my house and shaking my family's hand say some, you know, mean and inconsiderate and just evil shit. I'm like, bro, what the fuck? Like, you know, so I was a whole mess. But now, you know, things are so much better. And I could not be more grateful for Rick, for everyone in the community coming out. And what's crazy is that both sides, everyone associated with the build of this gun and the bow, the hunting trip, they all, you know, Rick was like, God told me to reach out to you. With the gun, just like, hey man, I felt like you needed help, and God wanted me to help you. And it was so crazy how that all went down. But I have time before I had to pick up my kids, and I purposely didn't want to see this because I kind of wanted to share this with you guys. So Wild Jaeger Veteran Adventures did a video, and I'm gonna edit so you and I can see at the same time what I'm about to see. He gave me a 30-minute video, but the video on the YouTube page, it's called Crossbow Hunting Whitetail with Airborne Ranger Angel Cortez, 1 through November 1st through 7th, or 1 through 7 November, right? Wild Jaeger Veteran Adventures. And I'm gonna press play right as him and I meet. And I kind of want to just talk about what happened. So it's actually at 2 minutes and 59 seconds, right? And I'm gonna press play. Put the volume up. Come on, you. I paid my internet bill. No, go forward. And I haven't seen this video. I have not seen this video at all. So right now, you know, so we're about to meet.
I've never met.
And I have no idea why the video is not loading up. That's crazy. But you know, I have this thing where my wife goes like, "You're gonna go do this thing, but like you don't know the guy, you don't know the people." I'm like, "No, it's the first time I'm gonna meet him."
But there's already a bond.
So we meet at the airport.
But there's already a bond.
So we meet at the airport. I flew all the way to New York, and I was so happy to see him. You can see it on my face, man. I'm smiling. And I'm nervous. Like I didn't know what to expect from him, because like the dude was a ranger and then went special forces, and you know, he looks super freaking tough, and you know, and he's got so many years more of operational experience and all that than me. So I was like, man, I hope he's like, all right, this dude's kind of cool and not such a lame. But as soon as I got there, it was so cold. You know, it was funny. All I had was my hoodie thinking like, oh yeah, it's gonna be good. And once we started hunting, I had like 5 layers on, and he had maybe 1 or 2, and I was like, bro, how am I supposed to look so tough for this guy like this? But I can't say enough good things about Rick. Rick is such a nice guy, and it felt so good to be like a student again. There's not many things nowadays where I feel like the new guy, the cherry, the like, hey, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. I gotta listen to this guy, and he's just telling me all this information. So now we're at Cabela's. I need to get my license, my hunting license, and it was, I think, the day before the opening season, so there were so many people. And we got it through, and it was so funny. Something about me was like, oh, they're not gonna let me do it, and they're gonna say A, B, C. You can't get this license, and I have this thing where I gotta get over it, where sometimes I'm doing something, or I get something, and I feel like it's gonna be taken away from me. Obviously that has to do with childhood shit and all that. But we get to his house. It's a beautiful house, gigantic backyard. But all those houses are like that, right? All the houses. California isn't the world, so not everyone's so stacked up on each other. And the massage shit, that was so funny. I thought I was gonna be like in Struggle City, sleeping on the floor in the woods or something, and at a massage chair in my own room. And all those deer on the wall, I just wanted to be like worthy enough to get one of those. So he's showing me all this gear, and he gave me a book. I got to start reading that book. I haven't read the book. I haven't found a moment just to sit down and like not focus on anything. But that, and all this stuff, he bought, and again, these nonprofits say they do work, but like, man, a lot of them unfortunately aren't really doing that. They kind of lose their way. I don't know what happened. Well, I would assume it's because money changes people, and they start doing great things, and then next thing you know, they are not where they were in the beginning. And then some people just, let's not fake the funk. Some people just do nonprofits just to keep money, and they lie about what they do. But the person recording is his wife, super nice, Mina. And this is the moment where he gives me the bow, and I remember just thinking like, no way, bro. Like, the trip was already good. Like, you didn't have to give me a bow. I would hear Cameron Haynes or what is it, Steve Ornell, and I forget the other guy's name. The guy who went on this crazy hunting trip on his own, came face to face with like a bear. I think it was a grizzly, and he pulled a gun out, and his pistol was jammed. So even if he wanted to pull the trigger, it wasn't even gonna shoot. And if I remember correctly, it didn't even have the right caliber ammo in the pistol. I think his last name is Greentree. But anyway, so I'd heard, the bows aren't that expensive. I mean, that cheap. So I was like, bro, I couldn't believe he gave me a compound bow. But now this crossbow, again, I felt like the new guy, eager to learn. I didn't want to, fuck up. I wanted, him to be, happy, to be like, all right, this dude listens. He and I'm trying to like remember each step, and I have not had that feeling since I was in the military, being a brand new guy. But here I am, 35 years old, and I have that feeling again, and that was awesome. Because he's filled with so much knowledge on what to do. Because he's had so many years hunting all over the world. So I have no experience hunting. I have no experience even like, with a rifle or a crossbow. So obviously he wasn't gonna tell me, hey, with a compound bow, here you go, try to kill something. So I was like, all right, crossbow, okay, cool. I was like, I've seen it be used on like The Walking Dead. It can't be that hard. But I messed things up. And then as soon as I thought I was like hot shit, he'd be like, hey, what are you doing? You gotta do it. And I'm like, damn it, that's right. And again, that moment has not happened since I've been in the military. So, we're doing some target practice, and let's see, I think this is my first shot, and I'm like, bro, camera's on me, don't fuck this up, just think about it as a rifle. Obviously, I don't know what the trigger feels like or whatever. Boom. Not bad. Not bad. Let's see. I think he said 40. That's a 40-yard shot. And then the harness thing. Oh my god. I thought I had it on point, but there was a moment where, well, actually a few moments. One moment he looked at me and we're up in the trees and he's like, hey, hook up. And I'm like, ah, damn it. I was like, and I'm over here thinking like, hell yeah, I set up. He didn't have to tell me anything. I'm good. And then another moment, I think I did hook up, but if I were to fall, like I was hooked on to the rope, but I didn't do it properly. So at the end of the day, yeah, I was connected to the rope, but not properly to the tree. So that wouldn't have helped me at all. And he's helping me, with everything. And he's such a great instructor, has a lot of patience. And I did take the hunter safety course in California, and they didn't talk a lot about bow hunting and crossbow hunting, but they did obviously cover some of this stuff. So it was really cool to hear what I had just heard the week prior, and he's telling me like word by word. He's such a great instructor, and there's not a lot of like snow out there right now, but I am freezing. I am so cold. I'm trying to focus, and this is weather-wise, it kicked my ass. But it's it's because I'm getting soft, and so that trip was awesome. And that's his backyard, so it's beautiful. It is. I kept telling him, I was like, bro, it's like something from like the movies. And what I liked is that Rick would show me things once, and then have me do it. And so he never did things like for me. Like he didn't set this up and set that up every day, all day. He was just like, all right, do this. Okay, now your turn, and now do the rest. And now and which was super cool. So here we go. This is my first day, and this story basically covers how we met. I mean, yeah, when we met, the process of starting to hunt, and then my first hunt, and I can't believe I got something within 24 hours of landing, which was wild, right? I thought, maybe I'll never see anything, maybe I'll never even catch something, but you know what? I was just willing to just go out there and learn and give it a shot. Um, and look at Rick. He's got like one layer, and right now I think I have one, two, three, and oh, but by like mid, not even mid, but before mid trip, I was already having 5 layers because I was like, yo, man, this is. I thought I could like tough it out, and then it was just getting colder, or maybe it was just I don't know. But what was funny is that when I came back to California, it was winter time, and I was like, bro, I'm gonna be in shorts and a shirt, man. You guys are crazy. Everyone's got hoodies and jackets on. Like it's hot here. But we're so spoiled in California. But I mean, I tell people this is why we pay a lot because you can go to the beach and then go to the mountains all on the same day, which actually I've done one time for my birthday just to say I did it. We went to the beach and then I went up to the mountains to go shoot. So that was cool. But now I'm about to go and look how beautiful it is, man. Like, and this is how we would go in and every single day, when we were hunting on this side. So I got to hunt private land and public land. A lot of the time it was private, and people were sending me messages. They're like, bro, you don't get that all the time. Not everybody just gets to hunt on private land. And even the public land that we went on, we would go through private property that he knew, and so we would get to public land that it was kind of really difficult to get there. As you can imagine, right? If the public land is here and then a private property, but then the public land starts all the way over here, then to walk or drive or whatever, So even when we did go to public land, I didn't see anybody. I didn't hear anybody. I didn't nothing. In the morning, and correction, I did hear because people were hunting. At first, I was like, "Oh, are people shooting deer?" But what it was is people were shooting at geese. So I would hear them, and when people would shoot, it was kind of cool here at distance because I had not heard shots at distance in such a quiet space as the sun is coming up in a long time since deployment. So that was pretty cool. My son made me that hat, and I thought that was awesome. What I wanted to do actually is buy a camouflage hat and then go take it to a some shop and be like, hey, can you put the pumpkin on there? But my son, for people who don't know, my son drew that pumpkin, and it's the logo for OG Pumpkin, and freaking there's over 800 people with an OG Pumpkin design tattooed on them. I mean, the logo at the time, my 5-year-old made it. He was 5 at the time, and so this is literally our second sit, because our first sit was literally the day I landed. He was like, "Hey, get your stuff ready. We're gonna go." And then we went during sunset, and then I think we didn't see anything. Yeah, we didn't see anything. Okay, so then for time's sake, I'm gonna scoot it a little bit forward because I want to talk about the kill. So now I'm at right here, 20 minutes and 36 seconds. Look, I'm trying to reach for my crossbow so slow. I'm like nervous. Like, okay, we see this deer coming. I'm like, okay, try to get my crossbow real slow. I didn't know like how well they would pick up my movement or whatever. And the deer, the fawn, the doe, it came like at a question mark at us. It looked like it was coming directly towards me, like an upside down question mark. So directly towards me, and then it did like a loop, and then Rick called it. And then when Rick called it, at the Hunter Ed videos, they were like, hey, this is where the best kills, best shots are at. And obviously forward was like, hey, that is an option, but that's not like your best one. So when they came towards me, I'm like, well, they said this is not the best shot. Maybe I should wait for it to look to the side. But I was just like, you know what? No, it's good. Just, do the fundamental thing. Remember your fundamentals. Don't, and which, by the way, my heart was pounding. Like, I'm in shape, and I've done a lot of crazy things. Like, I've walked up to IEDs and put explosives on there, and I pulled them out with my hands, bare hands, and in the night. So was my heart pounding then? I mean, probably. I mean, yeah. But I could feel my heartbeat in my, freaking neck and like right here, and I was like, oh, bro. I was like, yo, just chill. I was like, okay, let your heartbeat be that hard, whatever, it doesn't matter. Just focus on what you need to do. And so again, right, it did the question mark, upside down question mark here towards us, and then it just like went all the way around. I'm like, oh, it's going away, but then it came back to us. And I mean, I had only practiced a few shots, and this is my second sit, where I'm still within 24 hours of me landing. And man, I cannot, wait to see something, to get a shot, catch something. I want to be able to say that I can provide like that for my family. So now here's, right, it stopped, and I'm like, oh man, maybe it saw us, it's gonna leave. Damn it, this might be my one shot. So now I was looking down the sights, but then it kind of started walking, and I'm like, oh, it's going away. Yep, I was like, yep, it's going away. There was my opportunity. Maybe this might be my one opportunity the whole trip, and but then it started coming back, and I'm like, oh crap. And I'm like, okay, don't, because of the podcast, I would, people would what is it called, buck fever, or they would just kind of like panic and maybe miss, and maybe something that they would have hit if it was an actual target, but the fact that it's a live animal, and they get all stressed out. So it's coming, and then it did the question mark thing. Okay, so that's the moment when I'm like, oh, it's going away, damn. So, but now there was 3 of them, and I think it's the second one that came. This is the one I got. And it's coming, and I'm like, all right, get ready. I can still feel my freaking heart beat in my neck. So I'm waiting a little bit. I think right there, that's the one. And Rick was like, hey, you can't smell, so don't put deodorant on, and don't, put like whatever, shower with this and stuff like that. So I thought, I was like, man, maybe I smell too much or too hard. I mean, maybe the animal's not used to smelling Mexicans or something. Right away stood out or something. I was like, but it's coming towards us. So I'm like, okay, so it did smell us, but whatever, it's coming. Or maybe it didn't. I'm following it. You can see me tracking it. And I'm like, all right, I'm waiting for it to look the other way and, give me a side profile. But I'm like, hey, I'll take what I can get. Boom, hit it in the chest. And I thought I missed. I was like, oh man, I missed. I must have done the thing where people jerk it or the buck fever thing or whatever. But then it ran away real fast, and then it just stopped. And then it stopped, and when I heard Rick say she's down, I was like, bro, I did it. I did it, and I was happy, man, but it was a ball of emotion because I actually felt sad, but grateful. I remember thinking right away, like, hey, I you know, I just killed this animal, but it's a sad moment. Um, but I'm proud of myself, and I'm gonna make sure, that the meat doesn't go to waste. That I'm grateful for this opportunity for being able to provide that way. Um, you know, I was just so happy. But anyways, I just wanted to watch this with you guys for the first time. I'm gonna finish watching it. I gotta pick up my kids, but I figured, a long form video for the crossbow, the hunting trip, the rifle. Hopefully, I didn't forget anything, and if I did, I always forget something. There's always, I try not to listen to myself, but when I do, I realize, oh, bro, you messed this up. Oh, and you should have said this, but you said that, and then, oh, you missed this part. And it's like, people think that speaking kind of comes easy and doing podcasts is easy and all that, but I mess things up all the time. But, and other great things have been happening. So now it's keep training with this new rifle, keep training with the crossbow. I keep saying crossbow. Compound bow. But the biggest thing is, man, I'm so happy that as a family too, because it's awesome that my wife is on the same page, that God is being now, instead of just maybe going to church with this family, this relative or whatever, every now and then, because people would invite us and we would always just go. But now it's something that I think we're starting to feel as a family. We're starting to see it. And even one of my kids, they're smart. Kids, just because they're young does not mean that they're dumb or immature or don't get concepts and stuff like that. Because when I said, hey, let's pray, one of my kids was like, oh, normally we only do it on holidays, or we only do it at grandma's house, and I told him what I want to be doing more of, and what was awesome is that they themselves were like, yeah, that's nice, I want to do it too. So thank you everybody to freaking helped with everything that is still helping, that's still supporting. Come out to OG Pumpkin events. There's going to be more of. Come out to shooting events. There's going to be, I'm teaching, I'm doing public and private classes. Come train at the gym. Martial arts is my world, so that'd be awesome to train with more people. So you live in Southern California, but there's a good group of us that cross train at each other's gyms. Most of us are rangers, but not everyone's in prior service. Some of us are just civilians, so we still train together. But I love where things are going. I want to build a community and more of what I got going on. So thank you everybody. Have a good day.